that I think our kids should learn about listing contracts. And I've been interviewing people for the past 3 years on the affordable housing and real estate investing podcast. And I wish at some point someone would have sat me down, just explain all this terminology. So that's what I'm doing today. I just wish that at some point someone took the time and explained the very basic foundation skills. And I've been looking at some of the courses that real estate agents do, right? Everyone thinks that in order for you to be in real estate, you have to get a real estate license. So I thought, okay, well, let me look at all this education and see what I believe you need a real estate license to get into real estate, to be completely clear. But in order for me to master everything about real estate, I have to learn how to teach it. And if I can't teach it to my kids, then I'm not leaving them with the skills and all the knowledge that's out there that's available to them. And today I'm looking to use some analogies. So I'm really looking for your help. If you have better analogies on how to explain some of these items, please, please, please let me know what they are so that I can become a better dad and use better examples and learn how to teach my kids everything that I know about real estate. Okay. So today we're talking about listing contracts, right? And if you are a homeowner, right, you're thinking about selling or you're an aspiring real estate professional, understanding these agreements is very key to preventing any sort of confusion, getting sure you are fairly compensated, and most importantly, getting the home sold or bought for your client. So let's talk about how these contracts work, what each type looks like, and how it all ties together in a sale. All right. So at the highest level, right, the listing contract is simply the written agreement between a property owner and a real estate broker. And this authorizes the broker to go find a buyer for the property. And this really sets the stage from everything from pricing to how the home will be marketed, right? It's almost as if you are, I like to come with analogies, right? Let's say you're hiring a tutor to help you pass the test or ace the test, right? You sign an agreement on what subjects that they're going to cover, how they're going to prepare you. And that's exactly what a listing contract does, right? They're going to tell you exactly what the broker will do for your home sale. Now, there are a couple of different agreement types, right? The first one I want to talk about is the exclusive right to sell listing. And this is the most common arrangement. And the exclusive right to sell contract is essentially where the broker is the only agent with the right to represent the seller. If another agent or the seller themselves find a buyer, the listing broker still earns a commission. It essentially guarantees or ensures the broker invests time, energy, resources in terms of advertising confidently because they're going to spend that time trying to get your home sold so that they're going to get money for it. Okay. I kind of think about it as like a personal coach. That's a good one, right? You grant them exclusive authority to train you, right? So they're going to give 100% of their effort knowing that they're your only coach. That could be one way to go about it. Now, could you have different classes, different coaches? Sure, but sometimes I know that trainers, people when they hire trainer only hire one trainer for fitness specifically, not for anything else, not business. All right, the next item is we're going to talk about the exclusive agency listing, right? In an exclusive agency setup, the broker is still the sole representative, but if the seller personally, personally locates a buyer without any agent's help, the broker does not get any commission. So this can motivate the seller to go do some of the self marketing, right? To go find their own buyer. But it creates some competition between the broker's efforts and the owners. So, what did I read about this? What's a good analogy? Let's say you manage a band, right? A music band, and you have, and that manager, or you, if you're the manager, you have the exclusive rights to get the band to gigs. But if the band lands their own concert through like a personal friend, the manager doesn't get a cut. Very, very simple. Very typical analogy, right? Third item I want to talk about is an open listing. In an open listing, any broker who brings a successful buyer gets a commission, right? No single agent has full control or exclusivity. And in the situation, the seller can also sell the home by themselves and pay no commission. So this offers a lot of flexibility for the owner, but it usually leads to less dedicated marketing from the agents. So it's a trade-off, right? You have to decide how much energy you want to put into yourself versus relying on your agent. And I kind of like to think of it as, let's say you're on the street and there are garage sales or multiple yard sales, right? Everyone's trying to sell the same item. So each seller invests less time in marketing since they might not be the one to actually close the sale because everybody's selling the same thing. That might not be the best analogy, but I just wanted to share how if you are on a similar street with very similar items, that could create a lot of competition and a lot lower motivation. All right. All right. The other type of listing is called a net listing. Net listing. All right. A net listing is when the seller says, "Hey, I want a certain amount of money from the sale." And whatever's above that goes to the broker as a commission. Now, this is very risky if you don't handle it ethically because an agent could be tempted to sell at a higher price to get a bigger slice of commission. So most brokers avoid this type of listing agreement for that reason, because then I mean you're kind of overinflating a price to a buyer, and it's just weird, right? Because if let's say you're selling lemonade, right? If you told your friend you only need $5 from your lemonade stand, and anything above that is theirs, your friend might inflate the price to maximize their own cut, but it scares away customers because of how expensive it is now for a cup of lemonade, right? That's is weird. So that's why most people avoid it. Okay. Now, when it comes to compensation and the commissions, right? There's really in California, there's no mandated percentage for commissions. It's always negotiable between the seller and the broker. These fees typically come out of the sales proceeds at closing. So you got to clarify if you are getting a flat fee, a percentage, or a hybrid. And you got to communicate because you don't want any disagreements later, right? It's almost as if, like, if you're tipping at a restaurant, right, for if you're eating in and you have a server, you're not forced to give 15% or 20%, but typically there's a customer range for good service at 20%, right? But both sides need to agree on what's fair. And that's really up to you to decide in your negotiations. So let's talk about all the different elements in the listing contract, right? All listing agreements should cover the property details, the asking price, the duration of the listing, the broker's responsibilities, how the agent will be paid, and how disputes will be resolved. And the seller should review, really review, and read over every single line, every single clause, so that you can avoid any hidden surprises or any unrealistic expectations, because it's all got to be written down, right? I like to think of in baking, you really got to be exactly your recipe, because if you don't get the recipe correct, it's not, it's a little, baking is a little different than cooking. Baking requires measurements, right? Because if the ratio is off, the dough might be too wet, it might be too dry, and the cookie's not going to turn out well, right? Something's missing or unclear, the final dish might flop. And that's the reality of it. Okay. Now, if you ever want to cancel a listing or maybe a listing gets expired, usually there's is a defined term for how long the listing is going to last. But sometimes the seller or the broker might cancel earlier. But you got to make sure you're really cautious about this, right? Because some contracts they have a protection clause, meaning if a buyer from a broker's efforts closes soon after cancellation, the broker might still earn a commission. So you got to be really, really clear about timing and what that does, right? I like to think of it as a sometimes when you know you're just subscribing to something and it hits that trial day and it stops, but you really wanted it or you didn't get the refund that you wanted. I mean, it's just that can get really muddled, right? Just make sure you are very clear about the timing and how that all works. So hopefully this helps. I really wanted to just talk about listing contracts at the very high level and also go through a little bit of detail so that we know exactly what each part means. Not going deep into the details and every single legal jargon, but understanding what can you expect from each type of agreements. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to our email list. It's on affordablehousing.io, not .com, affordablehousing.io. That's the fastest for you guys to ever get in touch with me, get in contact with me. And I hope this is helpful, everybody. I hope you spend some quality time with your family and friends today because that's what life is all about. Have a happy Monday. I'll see you all tomorrow for another day of another live stream. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for sticking in with me. And again, this is not investment advice. This is not legal advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. Just simply trying to become a better dad and learn how to explain this stuff in a better way. Have an amazing day, everybody. See you tomorrow.